Hey guys, welcome to the Silver Report Uncut. Now, of course, things are bad. We didn't know they were this bad, but they're getting worse. That's the real news. The diesel prices in the United States, they've risen above $5 once again. They said due to these low inventories, the national average diesel price in the United States, it's risen above $5 for the first time in more than 2 months. The distillate fuel inventories are particularly low in the Northeast, with supplies of diesel fuel and heating fuel in New England currently 63% lower than the 5-year average. There's also a growing concern that a severe weather event could severely disrupt distillate supplies in the Northeast. This is going to be happening very soon. And the national average diesel price in the United States rose to more than $5 per gallon in the week ending August 29th, the first weekly increase in more than 2 months. That's according to the data from the Energy Information Administration. The diesel prices in the United States increased to $5.11 per gallon in the week ending August 29th, up from $4.90 the previous week. The higher diesel prices, caused by low inventories, they're harming the trucking and agricultural industries as well as raising the consumer goods prices. According to the EIA's most recent weekly petroleum status report, the distillate fuel inventories, which do include the diesel, they're above 24% lower than the 5-year average for this time of year. According to the Associated Press report, the inventories in the Northeast are dangerously low, being more than 50% lower than the recent average. According to the survey, diesel fuel and heating fuel supplies are 63% lower than the 5-year average. And also they are 58% lower than the 5-year average from Maryland to New York. Officials are concerned that an extreme weather event will disrupt the supply of distillate fuel in the Northeast and the entire East Coast very soon. And according to the AAA data, the diesel prices nationwide, they're going to be above $5 a gallon with an average of $5.07 a gallon on August 30th. Down from $4.97 a month ago and $3.27 this time last year. The average U.S. diesel price, it fell below $5 a gallon for the first time since March, whenever this entire crisis kicked up and they drove up the oil prices and disrupted the global crude and fuel trade flows. But according to the AAA data, the peak diesel price this year was $5.80 per gallon on June 19th, which is also the highest ever recorded average diesel price in America. Now, the European Commission President, Ursula von der Leyen, they declared an energy emergency, saying the crisis will not be contained to Europe. So the president seeks emergency intervention in electricity markets, saying that, quote, the skyrocketing electricity prices are now exposing, for different reasons, the limitations of our current electricity market design. The Commission president said on Monday while addressing the Bled Strategic Forum in Slovenia, he said the market was developed under completely different circumstances and for completely different purposes. It's no longer fit for our time or our purpose. This is why we, the Commission, are now working on an emergency intervention and a structural reform of the electricity market. We need a new market model for electricity that really functions and brings us back into balance. And this is exactly what I was saying not too long ago. They're just going to be the perfect kind of crisis. They're going to reach out and say we need to take drastic actions, make huge changes to our energy, our electricity. But remember, these people wanted to make huge changes to our energy and electricity. Remember the whole Green New Deal they came out with originally? They brought this up a long time ago and people laughed about it. They were laughing saying, oh my God, these people want to make cow farts illegal. Let me tell you something. Let me let you in on a little something here. These people want to make cow farts illegal. These people want to make cow farts illegal. They want to make it illegal for people to own cows. Do you understand? This is the truth, and it's happening. They wanted to make big, stupid changes, and they are making big, desperate, stupid changes. And they also said under the system, all electricity producers, from fossil fuels to wind and solar, they bid into the market and offer power according to their production costs. The bidding starts from the cheapest resources, or the renewables, and finishes with the most expensive ones, which is usually gas. Since most EU countries still rely on fossil fuels to meet all their energy demands, the final price of electricity is often set by the price of gas. If gas becomes more expensive, electricity bills inevitably go up, even if clean, cheaper sources also contribute to the total energy supply. Now, if the clean energy were really cheaper and easier to produce, without subsidies, wouldn't it have won a long time ago? Wouldn't it have beat out the rest of the market and just crushed them on price? They even said it was the cheapest. But that's just not the case. And remember, none of this is just happening sporadically. It didn't just come out of nowhere Wasn't a curveball. They told us this is your reasonable sacrifice. That you and all these countries need to make these sacrifices right now. And I think, Bill G was saying something very, very similar about what we need to do with the clean energy, or what we need to do with all these things, and how we need to make these changes. So this was all directly and entirely not just predictable, it was telegraphed. We were told about this in advance. We were warned. They have this sort of warn your victim mentality where they must openly admit all of the evil things that they're doing, and I think they feel like they get some sort of power from it or something. So clean, it may be cheaper now. But that's thanks to these sanctions that are going on in this country, and that could rapidly change. Now Spain, Portugal, Greece, France, Italy, and Belgium, they're seeking a decoupling of gas and electricity prices to put an end to this contagion effect. But how could that help? So you pay X for clean energy and Y for natural gas-produced electricity, but the total price paid is based on the percentages of use of both. There's not enough X to go around. Now, the European power prices just shattered records as the energy crisis begins to intensify. The German power prices for next year, they're considered Europe's benchmark. They jumped above €1,000 per megawatt hour on Monday before falling back to $840 per megawatt hour. That's a huge swing on a day. Now, this is not normal at all. It's incredibly volatile, said Fabian Ronigan. They're a senior analyst at Rystad Energy. So these prices, they're reaching levels now that we thought were not possible. Prices we thought we would never see. And according to a report from Time magazine, Europe's energy crisis is going to get worse, and the world is going to have to carry the cost. So until blackouts begin, or the pump prices make driving actually unaffordable, most people generally think no more often of energy than of air. And there's this reason. Americans have mostly been sheltered from any kind of energy crisis unfolding urgently, and in some cases, lethally in these countries around the world. In many other places, especially Europe, the escalating situation is impossible to ignore. And it's going to get a lot worse. Remember, they're saying in the UK, energy bills are about to increase by 80% right before the winter. To be clear, the energy crisis is already here. And the natural gas prices topped $3,100 per 1,000 cubic meters in mid-August, a 610% increase over the same time last year as measured by the Dutch TTF market. I actually missed the part. They said that this whole conflict, or the people who instigated the conflict, are fully to blame. And that's just not the case. There's not many other countries around the world that this is happening to. It is very specific, it's very focused, it's very targeted. And at this price, many power stations cannot afford to even operate. As a consequence of the rising cost of input fuels, the benchmark electricity prices in Europe, they've surged almost 300% so far this year, breaking records, and taken together, energy prices are 10 times higher than their 5-year averages. Not only do average households struggle to pay for power and heating at such a cost, but governments are coming up short. The 279 billion European governments have recently allocated to help small consumers is already not enough. And the worst has yet to come. Now, they did just shut down the Nord Stream 1, I believe, and they were talking about they were going to be dependent on imports, and they need to reverse that by the end of 2022. But if they do cut off the gas, perhaps not when, but if, the European consequences will be massive, and the global economic consequences could be tragic. The IMF calculated in mid-July that for Hungary, Slovakia, and the Czech Republic, a full cutoff of the natural gas from the Rus could drop GDPs by up to 6%. Global economic growth would drop by 2.6%. in 2022 and another 2% in 2023. On a human level, some people will not have heat. Others will have to choose between food and heat. I thank you guys for stopping by and joining us. As always, stay free.